Hey guys, Dan Holland here with SolutionToolbox.com. Today I want to talk about CSS styles and how you can use those in Sitebuilder. Now for those of you who don't know what CSS is, this video is not going to go into a lot of detail on how to use it. It's just going to show you how to implement it with Sitebuilder. If you don't know what CSS is, it's a great tool that allows you to style your web pages. It gives you more control over the look and feel than just HTML by itself does. And if you'd like to learn more about CSS, you can check out a great website. It's called w3schools.com. Alright, so to get started with CSS inside of Sitebuilder, there's two ways that we can do this. One, we can just use inline styles right inside the WYSIWYG editor, which is very easy to use. Let me open up a page here for you. Open up the About page. Now from within inside the editor itself, let me switch over here to the HTML. We can obviously just use the style tags right inside the HTML, and we can write our own CSS inside of there. Now we can also come in here, if I create a table real fast, if we click on any of these elements, down here at the bottom there's a bunch of attributes that we can click on, but if we open up the table properties, there's some stuff in here that allows us to do some CSS. So when we come over to the cell properties, we can apply CSS. We can use this style builder here, which essentially allows us to build styles, inline styles, using this WYSIWYG editor. And this is available for most of the HTML elements inside the WYSIWYG editor. Now inline styles are great, but they're kind of hard to manage from page to page. That's why we allow you to use external style sheets. Now you can get to that up top here by going to Site Settings and then clicking on CSS Manager. And this will open up your CSS file that you've currently created. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new one real fast. We'll just call this Test CSS. And we'll give it a description. Just like that. So we'll go ahead and say Create File. And now you can see that we have a new Test CSS file in here. Now those of you that are familiar with the CSS language, you can just click the Open button. And this will just give you a blank slate here where you can write your own style. So we can come in here and write a body style real quick. We can turn the padding off and the margins off for the body. Just like that. Maybe we can save this. Just as easy as that. Now for those of you who understand CSS but aren't familiar with the language, you don't have it memorized, you can come in here and click on the designer link. And this will open up a little WYSIWYG editor where you can design styles visually. So you can see the body that we've already created. And if we click on that, it'll open up the style for us. And down here we can see that the padding and the margins is set to 0. If we come down here, we should see all the paddings and the margins are now set to 0. But now we can do some other things. If we wanted to set like the default font and the font size, maybe set a default font color for the body tag. If we hit refresh code here, you can see that it will automatically generate the CSS markup for us. And if we go ahead and say update, that CSS has been updated for us. Now we can add new styles. If we wanted to define a HTML tag, we can come in here and just select the HTML tag that we would like to modify. For example, if I wanted to make a style for the paragraph tag, I could do that. I can also do some subclassing and some hover effects if I wanted to. But we can go ahead and say add style, and now we can see that P tag is over here. And if we do the same thing, we can click on that and begin defining the style here. Now we could also switch over to the CSS editor and we could write the style manually from this tab. Some other things that we can do, we can create our own style. So if I came down here and just type test, we can create a test style. Or we can come down here and create CSS selectors for any of the tags. So we could come down here and say this is going to be test and it's going to be for the image tag. And we can add styles like that as well. And all of these, if you click on them, you can open these up and edit the style through the WYSIWYG editor, just like this. Now once we have created a external CSS style sheet, we can attach it to any of the editors. So let me show you how to do that. I'm going to close out of a couple windows here. Let's go over here to our content pages. That'll be a good example. And we'll open up the About page. So here's my About page, and if I look over here on the left hand side, I can see our file manager and I can also see the CSS manager. So if I click on that, here again we can see all the CSS files that we've created. And right from here, I can open this, and if I click on the body tag, I get the same editor that opens up, so I can modify this style anywhere throughout the site here. Also, if I click on the test CSS, it'll open up the entire file for me to edit manually. Now, if I want to attach this CSS style to the page, all I have to do is come down here and select it out of the drop-down list. And you can see right now I have the default CSS file attached, which is going to be right here. So you can see I've got quite a few styles in here. Now, once you have a CSS file attached, you can actually apply these classes to any of the elements in here. So if I come over here to our content area, let me go ahead and clear this out. And if I drop a table in here, just because it's easy to show you guys how this works, if I click in any one of these cells up top here, if I come down to the bottom, I can see that I have a class name drop down, and if I drop that down, it's automatically going to show me all these styles that are inside my default CSS document that I've attached, and you can kind of see a visual representation of what that style actually looks like. So if I go ahead and click on one of these, you can see that it applies that style to this cell, and you can kind of see what it's going to look like. So if I switch over to the HTML here, you can see that for this cell, it's attached the class testimonial content right there. So this is a great way to add styles to your HTML very quickly. Now the same effect will work with any other elements on the screen. So for example, if I just wrote some text in here, let's say this is a test. Now if I highlight this, I can use the drop down up top here, and I can actually apply any of these styles to this text as well. So you can see right there, if I apply that to the div here, if we look back, it automatically creates a p tag, assigns the class outer header to it, and then wraps my text with that. Now this will work with images, it'll work with links, pretty much anything that you have selected, you can drop down the drop down here and apply a class to it. Now there's only one catch. You can only have one CSS file attached to any page at any time. So I can attach the default CSS, but I can't also attach the jQuery. But there are some workarounds. Now every part of your page can have a CSS file attached to it. So for example, your layout, if it has a header, a footer, and a menu, each one of those zones can have a different CSS style attached to it. So I can attach a CSS style to my header, a different one to my footer, a different one to my menu, and then yet another one on the page itself. So that way you can break your CSS down into multiple different files and then attach them appropriately.